But since I speak more than one language, I've had people on many different occasions ask me, how do I do it? Just for those of y'all who don't know, I speak English and Spanish. I'm familiar with a little bit of French and Portuguese, and right now I'm currently learning Japanese. But anyway, the question is, how did I even learn these languages to begin with? Well, I'm gonna give y'all 5 tips that I think would be helpful to learn any language. Alright, so the 5 tips I want to talk about are reading, writing, conversation, immersion, and relearning your own language. Tip number 1, reading. Now reading could drastically improve your ability to be able to speak a language. With reading, you got a visual on how the grammar of the said language is structured, so you got a better idea on how to form your own sentences. And if you want to make your own sentences, well, you already get that visual, so all you gotta do is take the next step, take what you read from the paper and apply it in your speech, and bada bing bada boom, now you can read and speak it. Well, you can't speak it yet, but that's what we're gonna get to in tip number 2. Tip number 2, writing. Now writing can also be physically writing, typing, or texting. When you write in your target language, you're actually training yourself how to speak the language, because unlike reading, you're the one actually constructing sentences and you're actually constructing the grammar yourself. Tip number 3, conversation. Now this is probably the most important tip out of all the tips I'm about to give you, because if you do not speak with native speakers, it doesn't matter how well you can read or write, because if you don't speak with native speakers, you're never going to reach that level of fluency that you so desire. Conversing, speaking to native speakers, helps you to think on your feet. Now the question may be, hey Jcrutch, I'm learning this language, but they don't have a lot of native speakers in my area. What am I supposed to do? It costs a lot of money just to go live in the area just to speak a language. I mean, I'm not made of money. I'm not like you, Jcrutch, when you roll in that YouTube money, that YouTube ad revenue. I understand. Nobody's balling like me. But let me give you some tips so you can get around this. Now, one tip I could give y'all if you're trying to learn a different language is, let's say you're trying to learn like Vietnamese or you're trying to learn Spanish. Like most cities have like some kind of like Vietnamese, Spanish store, like whatever language store you try and go to, like grocery store. And you could go buy something, and then like when you go check it out, go speak to the cashier like right before you check it out. Like, oh, how's your day? You know, obviously in the language you're trying to practice, but hey, how's your day? How you doing? You know, just have a little small conversation right before you go and check something out. And trust me, that little small conversation, that little small exchange that you just had, trust me, at the end, that's going to help. Because any little conversation you have, that's one step closer to fluency. But hey, let's say the language you're learning, let's say it's so small or like so uncommon in your area, that's not even going to help. Well, fortunately for you, we live in the 21st century. And if you go to an app store, they got a plethora of language learning apps that you can use. 2 off the top of my head I can think of are Tandem and Hello Talk. Those are language learning apps where you can speak to pretty much anybody that from any language, or at least the language they have available, and you can speak to them, converse with them, probably make friends with them. So that's a good tool to use to help you learn the language. Oh, just a side note, especially for your ladies out there, a lot of people on these apps just want to flirt and are not interested in learning like any kind of language. So you know, just keep that in mind. These apps could be really good and they could be really beneficial if you want to learn the language. But you know, they always got those couple of people that ruin it for everybody. So just be on the lookout for that. Tip number 4, immersion. Now immersion is a little bit related to what I was talking about last time with conversation, but it's not exactly the same thing. Because yes, conversation is part of immersion, but immersion is way more than just talking. Because think about it, in your native language, do you just talk in your native language? Actually, no, you don't. You're surrounded by it, which is why you're able to speak at the level you can speak it at. Because you see, you read in your native language. When you walk down the street, you're hearing people speak your native language. When you read billboards, you're hearing your native language. When you, listen to YouTube, listen to music, it's most likely in your native language. So you surrounded it, like you, imagine when you're in the ocean, you drowning in your native language. So that's what you need to simulate with the language you're trying to learn, especially if you're in a country or area when that language is not widely spoken. So now you be asking, Jcrutch, how do I simulate that? Like I just told you, bro. Like I don't have the money like you do just to be traveling and just going everywhere. You know, I'm not balling like you. Like I understand that. But like I said, if you want to do something, they always got to work around. You know, you always get the hookup, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to take you on the back alley with me. Let's go in the back alley. If you're trying to simulate immersion, this is what you could do. First of all, like when you listen to YouTube music, like listen to YouTube or music in the language you're trying to learn. That's one way. Another way is like when you're walking down the street, like listen to a podcast or something, and like just listening to the native language. So it's like you're walking down the street, and it's like you're hearing people walking down the street speaking whatever talking language you're trying to learn. Also, when you're walking around your house, you can put sticky notes everywhere. You know, you can put sticky notes on your sink, and then you talk a language. Now you know the word for sink. On a light, now you know the word for light. On your dog, now you know the word for dog. You know, on your eviction notice, now you know the word for eviction notice. Like you can put it on anything. And finally, tip number 5, relearning or re-examining your own native language. Now you may be saying, Jcrutch, how is re-examining my own native language going to help me learn a foreign language? Especially if said foreign language is completely different than my native language. Well, stop, hear me out, I'm about to explain it to you. Cause see, even the grammar, words, vocabulary, whatever, is like very different from your native language to the target language. It can still help. Cause when you re-examine your native language, you can see exactly like how you say stuff and how you use verbs, how you use pronouns, how you use conjugations, how you use this, that, and the other to speak your own language. And then when you look at your target language, you can examine those features and see, okay, they have this feature, but they don't have this feature. Or so they got this same feature, so how do they use this feature? Or they don't have this feature, so what they use in place of this feature? Or do they even have this feature in this language? When you do stuff like that, it puts into context, like, language is not this mysterious thing, like, oh, these people, like, they're speaking a whole different alien language that I can never have a concept of. No, when you put it in that language, examining how you speak and putting yourself in the mindset of somebody who probably doesn't speak your language and they have to learn your language from scratch, when you examine it from a foreigner's perspective, to put it like that, then you better see, okay, if I was a foreigner learning my native language, now I can see better how to learn a foreign language and it's not my native language. No, it doesn't make sense. Just to make it clearer, let me put up 2 examples on the screen. I'm going to the store. Voy a la tienda. You got one in English, one in Spanish. Now we examine these 2 sentences, like I said earlier. We can see what a pronoun is for the English sentence, what a pronoun is for the Spanish sentence, you know, the verb, how it's conjugated for both of these sentences, how the grammar is, what word is where, the subject, predicate, all that good stuff they taught you in grammar class. Yeah, it's actually coming in handy now. Well, that's just an overview of some of the tips I use to learn different languages. I can't go too into depth in this video because this will be way longer, and I know y'all like hearing my voice, but you know, I know you got other stuff to do and I don't want to keep it like that. I'm considerate. But anyway, if you got any questions, leave it in the comments below. Any tips or suggestions, also leave that in the comments below. But thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.